first of all, I'll see you all tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for Fallout Equestria. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And also, please do check out my book. Officially given permission by Hasbro and Bethesda, we are publishing Fallout Equestria Dead Tree Volume 1. You can check out the link in the description below, as well as the link to the story if you want to read the story in its current state before we do all the heavy edits. Now, I have to make one giant disclaimer here. This is not a review. I am not reviewing Fallout 76. This is an opinion about why I believe it is so divisive and why I believe, as the title suggests, it's a good game, but it's a terrible Fallout game. Many of the people on this channel have constantly asked my opinion of Fallout 76. They've asked for me to review it, and other people have asked me not to. So I'm stuck in a difficult position. They know I'm a major Fallout fan, having invested over $2,000 this year into edits for my writing and publication of a book, and over 200 hours of playing Fallout Equestria Dead Tree on livestream on Wednesday night. This is in addition to developing videos and now being published. It's no secret, I really like Fallout, and I like ponies, but this video is about Fallout. That'll be the only plug for the Wednesday night stream, and for the book. You want more info? Just description, as I said earlier. So why would I possibly say that Fallout 4 and 76 are good games, but terrible Fallout games? What makes them bad for Fallout, but good if we remove the Fallout branding? Let's take up point number one. It can be a good game, but it's not good for a franchise. Let's take a look at Fallout 1 through 3 and New Vegas versus Fallout 4. Each of these games offers a choice and consequence mechanic to all of its quests. You have decisions to make that ultimately affect and reverberate throughout the wasteland. From the beginning of the game, you are allowed to make such decisions. Decisions that change your character and define yourself more and more on your own personal romp into this world built for your adventure. Example, the Temple in Fallout 2. You decide if you're going to commit violence, reluctantly fight, or find a way to get through something without any violence or death of any kind. You are given risk versus reward choices as well. Do you explore the entire temple, or do you push straight through to the end? Some pathways offer you nothing but a few extra experience points that truly don't matter in the long run of the game. They offer you no additional equipment, and you may be spending resources to acquire those experience points, especially if your character is not melee-based. This is something that is offered to in all the first 4 Fallout games. Fallout 1, 2, 3, and New Vegas specifically. Every single one has a major decision at the beginning of the game. Fallout 1, how do you react to Shady Sands? Do you actually do something to help them, or do you move on with your own quest to save your vault? Fallout 3, you have a major decision. What happens to the Overseer? How does Vault 101 develop when you leave it? What do you leave behind? And it immediately impacts, when you come back later, the current status of Vault 101. Fallout New Vegas, the conflict between the Goodsprings and the Powder Gangers, is a pivotal one that is effectively your tutorial for the game to immerse you in a world in which your decisions change the world. If you side with the Powder Gangers, Goodsprings is wiped out. If you side with Goodsprings, the Powder Gangers are forever going to be your enemy, and you're going to constantly run into them. If you side with no one and simply eliminate Ringo, you're left with the Powder Gangers and Goodsprings in a cold war that's brewing up into something that might end up with you later down the line getting a report that some character just died. Fallout 4. When do you finally get to make a decision without a decision of no being an option? It's not until several hours in, after you've met the Railroad, the Minutemen, and the Brotherhood of Steel, then teleport into the Institute, that you were given a meaningful choice in the main quest of Fallout 4. All the quests in Fallout 4 do have no as an option, but it's not treated as a hard, no, I'm not doing this. Instead, you have 4 options in Fallout 4 at all times. Yes, I have questions. Sarcastic or funny, yes. And no, not right now. No quest in Fallout 4 do you decline and you cannot come back and do it later anyway. Fallout 76, I don't mean to be rude, but there are no choices in many of these quests, period. Yes, you occasionally get to pick a faction like the Enclave or the Brotherhood or some other piece that makes you representative of a faction in the universe, but there are no NPCs to represent that faction, so what is it? It just gives you access to certain areas. But for 90% of the quests in the game, there's no choice. The world has no consequence offered to you other than loot and experience points. You complete a quest and you feel no change in the world in Fallout 76. Fallout has always been a system of choice, consequence, and change in the world where the only limits are those set on you by yourself. If you complete quests, you receive experience points, you level up and items, but the world doesn't change in any significant way in Fallout 76. And oftentimes in Fallout 4, the world doesn't really feel like it changed a lot. The scenery might have changed, and there are some very interesting quests in Fallout 4, but the main story quest, your decision feels arbitrary. Yes, in 76, you may have removed some super mutants, you may have nuked a site, you may have destroyed a bunch of Scorched, but if you leave the area and come back in 5 minutes, they're right back there in the area, or some new threat has taken the area, and it's like you were never there. Does this make the game mechanically bad? No. This works great for games like World of Warcraft or EVE Online or Ark, where you leave an area and you come back and there's new dinosaurs or there's new loot or there's new enemies. And they've done this for literal decades and it's worked fine. But the moment you put a Fallout logo on it, it becomes a bad mechanic for Fallout. The term Fallout means the nuclear radiation that occurs from a nuclear blast. If you imagine yourself as supposed to be the nuclear blast, the fallout is your repercussions on the world. You're expected that if you make a decision, it should have an impact upon your play experience from here on out. A great example is if you destroy the Vipers in Vault 3 in New Vegas, the number of raiders and raider attacks around New Vegas decreases. If you destroy all the marked bounty raiders issued from the NCR, they become virtually non-existent around the New Vegas capital itself. Caravans and traders still pass through, but you're more likely to encounter enemies that are either Cazadors, super mutants, or Deathclaws, as opposed to more raiders. Think about how that would change Fallout 76. If players kill a ton of Scorched in an area on one particular server, and instead they're replaced with more robot merchants or super mutants or wild creatures, or your building area in that Pacific zone is increased from your camp, think about how that would make the game feel, knowing if you culled the enemies from an area, it would generate fewer and fewer of that type of enemy, and you would potentially get a world-existing reward, at least until the server resets the following week. This is just point one. Your player agency is non-existent. You are left in with a gameplay experience that is, for Fallout, shallow, and not deep enough to make it feel like you matter. The world is constantly just regenerating new enemies that are the same thing you've just killed, just higher level. And those higher level enemies are not a threat to you, which brings me to my next point. If the enemies are not a threat to you, you've removed one of the core elements of Fallout, lethality. In Fallout 1 and 2 especially, but this goes for Fallout 3 and New Vegas as well, every single enemy you encounter is potentially your last. You never get a sense of invulnerability or that you are an avatar of destruction. Even if you cheat in Fallout 2 and equip yourself with power armor, gauze weaponry, and max out your skills, a couple of critical hits can put you in a real world of hurt or outright put you into your grave. Fallout 4, it's hard to die. Even Deathclaws are not a true threat by the time you encounter them. They can may be able to pick you up and gut you as an animation, but mechanically, that only removes 10 to 20% of your health. And the battle results, it feels like you're somehow Superman, and they are just impotent meat for you to carve up. This extends into the radiation system as well. Before Fallout 4 or 76, you had two systems of health. You had hit points, which you could easily heal through rest, food, and stem packs. And then you had rads or Geigers, representing the amount of radiation you've taken. The second one was hard to get rid of. Rest and duration over time didn't help it at all. And in the first game, you had zero method to remove radiation. Once you start getting poisoned, you were on a limited track towards death. Every single time that you encountered anything radioactive, you had to make a choice, a decision. Is it worth the risk, knowing that my rad counter is going to go up and I cannot fix it? Even in New Vegas, where Rad-X and Radaway are easier to find, you find yourself going into places, though, like Boulder City or military outposts that are covered in radiation, where standing bare naked, you're taking 50, 60 rads a second. Some creatures even issue the stuff, such as golden geckos, or the aforementioned Cazador not only poisons you, but irradiates you. So you're never safe from this menace. And the DLC Dead Money for New Vegas and the Pit for Fallout 3, you are placed into a position where radiation is a super hard threat due to the lack of supplies of Rad-X and Radaway to deal with it because your equipment is stripped from you. Yet here, Fallout 4, you are encouraged to go into a region known as the Glowing Sea, where nuclear weapons have gone off. You find children of Adam just living here, and many military bunkers loaded with warheads. Radiation, there's 3 separate bunkers. All of them are loaded with nukes. Radiation is reduced to only a reduction in your max health, while Radaway and Rad-X and now brain fungus used for making another drug to get rid of the radiation are in abundance. Enemies with a skull over their name are meant to indicate a threat the player is not ready for. In Fallout 76, it's simply taken as a challenge instead of something that will kill you. Players are surprised in Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 when they actually die in PvE, player versus environment combat, instead of realizing that they are in over their head. On its own, this is not necessarily a bad thing. Many game systems have this feeling of near invulnerability. Skyrim is one great example. Call of Duty is another great example. The recent Battlefield 5 game with the ability to just repair stuff on the fly is another example. They're not terrible mechanics on their own. But the moment you put a Fallout logo on it, and for the past 2 decades, this franchise has established itself with a lethality that rivals Dark Souls. Every possible enemy should be your last, and to suddenly lack that, it's jarring, especially for many long-term fans who have been here since Fallout 1 or 2 or 3 or New Vegas. To suddenly lack that challenge, they don't see it as necessarily a challenge or it's too easy. It's that we view our enemies as busy work, than an experienced combatant, that every single decision during the combat can mean the difference in life and death. Mechanically, Fallout 4 and 76 are great, but that is only mechanically. Visually, 76 is now dated. Even if it's the best graphics for a Fallout game we've ever seen, it's nothing revolutionary, whereas all previous Fallout games had revolutionary graphics to them. Yes, all the games are buggy. Doesn't matter which one you play. I'm not even going to deny this. 1, 2, 3, New Vegas, 4, 76, they're all loaded with bugs when they came out. It took months of fixes to make them not even just stop crashing. And in some cases, especially when you factor in mods that are built by players, there are still crashes that happen repeatedly. I'm not going to defend that at all, but up until the most recent Fallout game, they were pioneers with technology, story, game features, ideas around how gameplay worked, core systems that held the game together. We were willing to forgive the bugs. But now, they're not. They lack the story, they lack new technology for video games, and they lack new core game systems. Which brings me to point number 3. The series is getting stale without these innovations. Fallout 4 and 76 get stale and boring after a bit. This may be just me, but the core gameplay loops of these two games are fun and good for like an hour or two. But after that, I want some reason to be invested and immersed. Fallout New Vegas, it was always because I was on a quest for some character or faction. Fallout 2, because you would randomly find something new you hadn't encountered before. I still play Fallout 2, even after 400 hours. I haven't found everything in the game, especially with the recent modded patches that add in cut content. And there was always a sense of urgency to these quests. For instance, in Fallout 3, there's a quest to reveal to Lucas Sims that Mr. Burke wants to blow up the town of Megaton. If you do this and don't immediately go kill Mr. Burke, he kills Lucas Sims, cutting off some of the quests in Megaton from the player and opening up quests for Lucas Sims' son. This type of urgency demonstrates a world that doesn't care, that doesn't take into account the player and will act on its own with or without you. This is one of the revolutionary things we had in Fallout 3 and New Vegas. If you don't act at the battle for Hoover Dam, it will play out based on the side you've given the most help to, and you may be on the losing side. In Fallout 1, you are on a timer the entire time. There are mods to extend that timer, because a lot of players just want to go like play Fallout 1 and explore everything and get everything in the game. But the point is, you're on a timer. You're always put under the gun of urgency to complete these quests or lose the game itself. We wish to this day we had video games this well done as a living, breathing world, even if it's somewhat artificial. Even if we still have to be the initial action that begins the consequence and the cause and effect that tumbles into creating a living, breathing world, we still want to see that our actions have an impact. And that if we don't act, the world will continue without us. Fallout 3, as well as 1, are the closest this franchise has ever gotten to that sense of urgency, with time limits on certain quests, with potentially lethal consequences for many characters that you grow to love and understand and sympathize with if you don't act. Fallout 4 and 76 don't have this. Fail a quest? Try again. Companions go down on a quest? It doesn't matter, they're essential characters. They can't stay dead. Need to log out of 76? Come back tomorrow. You can pick up right where you left off. Your investment in the quest is only as far as you want to make it, and there's no consequence for failure or risk thereof in many cases. This would work great in, say, Skyrim, or a setting where you're supposed to be a godlike figure or a demigod who has utter influence over the world and how things play out. As a game concept, a post-apocalyptic world that you are the most important decision-making character is a beautiful thing for some people. But in a Fallout game, it's not only not what we want or expect, it is completely counter to the expectations that go with that Fallout logo. Many hardcore Fallout fans, myself included, love the idea of a wasteland that doesn't give a shit. You have a companion with you, they get gunned down, your whole companion quest, your entire love life with that companion, if you had a love life with them. It's just how the fact I would usually start one with Cassidy in New Vegas is gone. I have to deal with that. I have a character now who has lost that. The next person I encounter, I'm going to have a whole lot less sympathy for because the Wasteland doesn't give a flying rat's ass. To give an example from the Wednesday night game for Fallout Equestria, a player character died from a raider deciding to shoot them in the head. Didn't care. The raider wanted to live. The only way the raider could live was blowing their head off. And it only bought the raider a few more minutes of life at the end of the day. This developed the term, "don't get buddied," because the character's name was Buddy. And it gave our entire group a new policy. Hats are not helmets. It's a beautiful example how hours of work, effort into a character, can end suddenly and without warning because a shotgun blast to the face means their story ends and the Wasteland doesn't care or notice. The only people who care are the players playing the game. That is a core element of Fallout, and it's simply not here. This is something we expect from Fallout. Not this where I can just stim pack them back up and let them keep trying to kill a raider till it eventually goes down. The nameless, faceless raider who is the 100th one we've killed together. Which brings me to my last point. Nameless characters or complete lack of named characters versus faceless NPCs or a complete lack of NPCs. Honestly, in games like No Man's Sky and Elite Dangerous, this works. You don't care about who they are or just what faction they represent. In Fallout 4, this doesn't work, especially not in Fallout, and it especially doesn't work in Fallout 76 very well for a Fallout game. For any game that wanted to do what Fallout 76 is doing, it's great, except for you put the word Fallout on it. So let me give you an example. In Fallout 4, what's the mayor of Dodge City's name? Do you remember? What was the name of the anti-synth lady who sold you stuff in Dodge City? Or the guy who believed baseball was a blood sport? I have to use all these characters from Dodge City, by the way, because there's no other settlements. What about the two settlers with Preston who were not Mama Murphy or Sturgis? What were their names? Do you remember? Do you know them? I didn't remember any of these people. I had to look them up. I've played 300 hours of Fallout 4. I had to look these people up. Now let me ask you another question. Who's the super megaton shop owner? Who was the super happy megaton shop owner who sends you on quests to build the Wasteland Survival Guide? You know her name. Who is Dave from Fallout 3? Who's Dave? What about Harold the Tree? Does that ring a bell? Who created Jet? Who is in charge of super mutants and why is he making more of them? Who is the leader of the Strip in New Vegas when you arrive? Who's the burnt man? I can keep going, but the point is you knew exactly every single character by name within seconds, or you're sitting here snapping your fingers as rapidly as you can because you're trying to find their name somewhere in your head because you know it. It's just you're trying to recall exactly what it is. The point here is Fallout 4 and 76 lack the soul we associate with Fallout game. Good writing mixed with memorable NPCs. We all know who Liam Neeson voices in Fallout 3. We all know who Elder Lyons is. We all know who his daughter is. We all care about dog meat in Fallout 3, particularly to the point you would take a Deathclaw swipe for him. We know who the most lethal Deathclaw of all time in New Vegas is. And I will sit here and listen to your arguments between the three named Deathclaws in New Vegas about which one's more lethal. Go ahead, comment section, go nuts. We know them by name, that's the point. Even in Fallout 2 in New Vegas, the Raiders have unique, one-of-a-kind names. Cook, Driver, Nelfie, or Violet. You know who I'm talking about and what challenges you faced to kill every one of them. And you probably died to them at least once. When I write Fallout Equestria Dead Tree, characters and enemies have names like Blackhawk, Breakfast Blend. Even manticores are called Rip, Tear, Rend, and Snuggles. The point is, you know who they are. They have a name and an association, and you can point them out. Even random enemies, you know who they are. I couldn't remember the name of the Legionnaire leader from Novak, or Nipton, but by God, do I remember his speech about degenerates. Do I remember how he detailed out what he did to Nipton. In Fallout 4 and 76, you find yourself not only not seeking out these enemies, unlike previous Fallout games where you're seeking out these named enemies, you're going after them, you're learning their stories, you're learning their weaknesses. I remember off the top of my head, Cook had a cow, and if you shot the cow, he'd go nuts on all the raiders all around him if you shot that Brahmin in the head. I remember Driver Nelfie would charge you with a golf club And you had to stay away from him because he's the one melee character who always criticaled. I remember Violet had tons of cyber dogs all around her. But in Fallout 4 and 76, I'm not seeking out to go kill these named enemies. I'm trying to avoid combat in a lot of cases. I'm here to loot for gear and building materials for my settlements. Combat feels like busy work that is counterproductive to getting more glue or screws or bullets. To build that next piece of a settlement, to upgrade that next weapon, to make that next piece of armor awesome. Part of the heart and soul of a Fallout game is the vast cast of characters you meet along the way. It is not just the end goal of building up the Red Rocket gas station or getting enough settlers to have market stalls. In Fallout 4, at one point I had 274 settlers. I couldn't tell you one of their names because all of them were just named Settler. What? That's it. I couldn't... There were a couple ghouls who I knew the name of. There were a couple robots who I knew the name of. But actual people? No. Sadly. The game shouldn't just be about getting launch codes, nuking an area, killing a boss, and getting a rare drop for your power armor, then waiting 3 days to do it again. It is as much about the journey to get those items as it is the people you helped, hindered, killed, scarred, or interacted with along the way. The decisions you made that affect lives in ways that are profound, regardless of how minor those decisions are, is what you seek out when you play Fallout. Now, it's also about getting to know those characters you choose to form a bond with. Fallout 76 has some amazing pieces of voice dialogue. It has really great voice acting and interesting stories on those holotapes, but when those stories have already been completely played out before you arrive and you have zero influence on what happens, you don't feel that you're actually in a story. You feel like you're listening to a history book. And there's a huge difference in having an impact on the world that you helped to create from where it started when you arrived and just reading the history of it. It is the player hearing about what happened and having no reason to really care beyond collecting the next story. And then the person's story who you've collected is over and done with. Some of their stories are painful. Some of their stories are gripping and emotionful, but all the emotion you feel is the same emotion you would feel by reading Cinderella, by watching The Hunchback of Notre Dame. You're playing a Fallout game. I should be actively involved in those stories and in shaping and creating the history of it. You can't save them. You can't alter their path into something else that benefits you, and you can't choose to condemn them. Are they still full of dark, twisted humor? Yes. Quite honestly, yes. Are they still full of emotion and heart and something there? Yes. Does it build the Fallout world? Does it build the lore around you? Yes. Are there a lot of places in Fallout 4 and 76 that violate the lore of previous games? Yeah, but that's an entirely different video. The point here is that your choice is almost completely removed, and the lack of NPCs, the wonderful core of the Fallout experience that made your decisions mean something. Not a Fallout experience, but rather just a romp in the wasteland with Fallout trappings. Now, I'm not saying they don't have interesting NPCs, but they rely far too much on busy work and combat to make the game stand out, as opposed to the storytelling that kept us going in Fallout 1 all the way through New Vegas. They don't take risks with their stories. They don't introduce new factions and new characters with a little mix of the old, as well as reasoning why the old is here where you are right now. Nick Valentine in Fallout 4 is an amazing NPC and miles deep. Paladin Dan's is strange to say the least, and your ultimate decision between him and Maxon is the one chance you can humanize Maxon into feeling something for sense, and it fails regardless of your decision. He doesn't change his mind about what he wants to do at the Institute regardless of how that quest turns out, but it makes Dance an interesting character. But why can't I have these interesting decisions and characters outside of my companions? Why can't I have something like the Thane of Whiterun and deciding at the pivotal moment in the Civil War which side he's going to be on, knowing full well if he decides against the side I've chosen, I'm going to be storming Whiterun for his head. He has to look me in the eye and tell me he is against me. That's meaningful. That has impact. That's something that Bethesda has done in the past, which is one of the reasons why many of us are disappointed. We've seen them in Elder Scrolls. We've seen them in Fallout. We've seen them in Doom. Have meaningful choices, or at least meaningful characters that are influential in driving a story. And then we run into Fallout 4 and 76. And they lack that. These are the core reasons that Fallout 4 and 76 are bad Fallout games. 76 has its own reasons for being bad, from technical issues to bugs to missing features, but those are promised to eventually be fixed. Part of the reasons why we consider 76 so bad is the hype around it. The promises that were made to us that were shattered and broken over and over again. With all the other issues behind 76, which I'm not entirely going to go into, my faith in Bethesda is not just damaged, it's gone. I want to see Bethesda's Fallout games be good Fallout games again. Fallout 3 New Vegas, and yes, I get New Vegas was done by Obsidian with the original creators of Fallout, but they had Bethesda rules and publication on them. They were still amazing and are still grand experiences to this day. And I'm talking about Fallout 3 as well. From a gameplay perspective, Fallout 4 and 76 are good looter shooters similar to Borderlands. They have solid shooting mechanics, good core principles as to how their overall gameplay loop works, and interesting settlement and building mechanics. Their gunplay is tight, quests are logical for the most part, they have decent player-to-player interactions as well as player-to-NPC interactions. 76 has voice comms that work. Even if they had to add in a push-to-talk button later, there's still decent voice comms that work relatively well, which is something that a lot of games don't have. The in-game voice on games like EVE and World of Warcraft and World of Tanks are atrocious. Fallout 4's settlement system needs a few more improvements, but other than that, it's still pretty solid. I mean, you can mod it to make it better. DLCs of Fallout 4 like Far Harbor and Nuka World are great. They're wonderful both game mechanically and for Fallout experiences. They're amazing. Nuka World needs a lot more spelled out of a questline if you decide to remove the raiders. A set of factions that come up that are non-raider to run Nuka World, giving them the meaning of destroying the raider, having not only significant consequences besides, oh well, you don't get to get any more story quests for our DLC now, just side quests. Far Harbor is a part of Fallout is established in Far Harbor, and even in some of the quests in Fallout 4, and especially in New Vegas and 3, you run into a lot of H.P. Lovecraft-style existential horror experiences. In Fallout 76, there's even a couple of haunted houses that have poltergeist activity and just weird shit happen in them. There's even ghosts, outright ghosts, roaming around. And in Far Harbor, you get to experience an H.P. Lovecraft existential crisis of what it means to be human, and can a machine achieve being human? Shoddycast had an entire rant video about the main character in Fallout 4 being a synth because of a single line of dialogue. A single choice you can make in Far Harbor caused them to explore this. I agree, it makes too much sense that your character is a synth, but further is reinforcing just how human is too human. And as you progress through Far Harbor, and a real moral gray area emerges of if synths and humans can truly live together, or if they must destroy one another on the same level that it took Mass Effect 3 games to achieve with the Quarian Geth War. All of that in a 5-hour DLC. We know Bethesda is capable of making an excellent Fallout experiences that pushes the boundaries of storytelling, technology available for game creation, refines our experience each time to be better than the last, and we know they are capable of making something great that we will remember for decades. We know they can literally go back and enable things like child death or rape in Fallout 3 with only modifying one INI file to make it where every single NPC in Little Lamplight can be slaughtered wholesale if you choose. Or you can do terrible things to people in New Vegas, particularly the Gomorrah Casino and Brothel. Not that I'm advocating those things, I'm just illustrating that we know that you just have to modify one INI file and the gloves are off. The little Bethesda, we're keeping this rated M gloves are off, and that's just a flat-out adult-rated game, which is what the original 2 Fallouts were truly shooting for. We know that they can truly return the need for survival to the wasteland with 76's survival mechanics that need a lot of refinement to the same level of desperation that you felt while playing Fallout New Vegas Dead Money, where you had to make a choice at a vending machine between bullets, food, and water. We know they can return quest failure, remove essential NPCs from quests, and make the quest still play out if the NPC dies, like they had in Fallout 3. The point is, we know they can do better. We know that these games are capable of being better. Now, the question I have to truly pose: will Bethesda wake up and see the light that the possibility of making Fallout have the mass appeal it did for 3 in New Vegas, that Fallout 4 had, but only does so now with mods? Can they wake up and see that they can truly make a great game? Or will the franchise need to go to a new developer for that to happen? Or will Bethesda do nothing, learn nothing from this, and watch as Obsidian and themselves battle it out with the Outer Worlds versus Starfield? If the last one is the case, I hate to say it, Bethesda, but seeing what you've done recently versus Obsidian's Tyranny and Pillars of Eternity, excuse me, my money isn't on you. Thank you for watching and listening. Slap the like or dislike button. Let me know how you feel about everything I've just said. Please, tell me what you think is the biggest reason why I would call this Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 a good game, but a bad Fallout game. Feel free to correct me down in the comments too. Let me know if I missed something. Look, here is a Fallout 76 theory video for you about Vault 76 and why I think it's not a control vault. And over there, well, there's a link to the Fallout Equestria live stream playlist. See it live on Wednesday at 9. Check out the description for the Twitch link and for the link to my book that's coming out. In the meantime, this has been Fiaura, and I will see you guys next time.